Opening a project for the first time, you'll start in the activity page. On the left of the activity page is a recent activity feed. This will fill up as members of the project perform activities within the project. In the middle is your to-do list. These are the activities that you must complete in order to generate an insight for the project. Over here on the right, you can add client contacts and team members. When you add a team member, simply type in their email address, select their role, and hit enter, and they'll be added to the project. When you create a project in VECKTA, we ask you a few questions to get everything set up. First, we'll ask you to identify the industry that best describes your facility or project site. Next, we'll ask you to identify whether your project is new construction or existing construction. We then ask you what your project goals are. We use this to pre-populate an objective for our optimizer. Don't worry, you can always change this later. Next, we'll ask you to locate your project. Just type in an address and we'll find your project site on the map. Alternatively, you can enter latitude and longitude coordinates. Finally, we'll ask you to name your project and optionally enter a client name. Make sure you choose the appropriate units for your project. You can't change this once the project's created. VECKTA requires a year's worth of hourly load data, and the Data tab is where you'll upload that load profile. You can upload either a CSV or Excel file in either single column or double column format. If uploading a double column format, we assume the first column is the timestamp. In either case, we require that the load data start at midnight on January 1st of the year specified. When you upload your data, VECKTA automatically calculates your peak demand and total annual energy usage. Alternatively, you can request that VECKTA create a synthetic load profile for you. Just enter a few pieces of information, click this button, and a VECKTA team member will reach out to help create a load profile that works for your site. The Drivers tab is where project team members can provide additional context for the project. You can describe how the project will make money and enter details about exactly what happens when an outage occurs on site. You can also provide an estimated annual energy expense. Finally, indicate any available economic incentives that you might want to consider for the project. Simply click on the profile icon and click Share Feedback. Give us a quick title of the feedback. Tell us what type it is, whether there's something wrong, whether you'd like to see something new, or if you just have something that you want to say, and then give us a description. You can choose to submit your feedback anonymously, and if you have any attachments, like a screenshot or a screen recording, you can add them here. The Finance tab is where you'll choose how to consider paying for your project in the techno-economic optimization. Your choice will affect how cash flows are considered for the lifetime of the project. There are two main ways of considering project financing: project screening and detailed financial analysis. Project screening considers taking out individual loans for each considered piece of equipment, with the loan term equal to the lifetime of the equipment. When the equipment is replaced, another loan is taken out. In order to complete a project screening financial analysis, you'll need to provide the expected interest rate of the loan, the project lifetime, and the required payback period. If you don't have a hard constraint for a payback period, just leave this as 0 years. For a detailed financial analysis, you can choose to self-finance the project, in which we assume that you pay for the entire project CapEx as an upfront lump sum, or you can choose to loan finance the project, in which you take out a loan for the entire project. For each of these options, we also ask you to choose a reinvestment strategy. You can choose either lump sum, in which equipment is replaced at the end of its life with a lump sum payment, or accrued, in which negative cash flows are accrued each year in order to save up for replacement equipment. The Goals tab allows project team members to get a quick snapshot of project goals and objectives. Key milestone dates can be specified, as well as an estimated budget for the project. You can even specify use cases for the project for additional context. This is also where you'll specify the objective function for the optimization. You have three choices here: minimize cost, minimize carbon emissions, or both. If you choose to minimize cost, the optimizer will design a system that minimizes the total annual energy cost of the site. If you choose to minimize carbon emissions, the optimizer will design a system that minimizes carbon emissions, both directly produced by generation on site and indirectly produced through the purchase of electricity from the utility. If the objective is to minimize carbon emissions, you must specify an upper limit on how much you are willing to pay to achieve this goal. The carbon reduction premium represents the additional cost you are willing to incur on top of your current annual energy cost. You can also choose to minimize both cost and carbon emissions. In this case, VECKTA assumes you are not willing to pay any more in energy costs than your current annual expenditures. You also have the option of specifying resilience as a goal. You can specify a level of resilience on an hourly basis, or you can specify 1 day, 3 day, or 2 week levels of resilience. If resilience is your goal, the optimizer will search through your load profile for the entire year and determine the worst case total energy usage for the resilience period specified, and ensure that at a minimum, the optimized system will meet the facility's energy needs. Once you've filled out all the necessary fields, VECKTA allows you to optimize your system by clicking on the Generate New Insights button. Project insights include a financial overview, system benefits, the optimal system configuration, and a peak day dispatch profile. You can look at things like return on investment, net present value, and IRR over the project lifetime. In system benefits, we show you the CO2 emissions for the optimized system, the annual operational expense, and the levelized cost of energy for the optimized system. In the optimized system, we show you what the configuration of the system is, and we show you total system size, total CapEx, annual energy consumption with a breakdown by components of the system, and CO2 emissions. In the peak day dispatch profile, we actually show you on the peak day of the year what the dispatch of each of the system components are. If you've generated multiple insights, you can click on the Historical Insights button. When you first log into VECKTA, you'll see a blank screen. Eventually, as you create projects, you'll see them populate in this space. If you want to create a project, you can click Create. If you want to enter an existing project, just click on the project tile. You can group projects into folders by dragging one project onto another. The Technology tab is where you'll let us know if you have any existing technologies that you'd like to include in the optimization, as well as if you'd like to consider any new technologies. You can model things like solar PV systems, energy storage, diesel and gas generators, and wind turbines. If you'd like to model a system, simply click on the slider and some assumed values will come up. If you'd like to edit these values, simply click Edit and make your changes. If you'd like to consider a new technology, simply click on the slider and you can continue on to Insights. VECKTA uses a set of assumed values that are pertinent to your location and the size of your system. If you'd like to edit some of those values, simply click on Details, click on Edit, and make your changes. When you're done, click Save. The Utility tab is where you'll specify your utility tariff if this is a grid-connected project. If this is a remote project, this tab will not appear. As in the Data tab, VECKTA gives the user two options: enter your site's utility rates, or have VECKTA interpret your utility tariff. You can use VECKTA's pre-populated rates, which are based on your project location, or you can determine your own blended energy and demand rates for summer and winter. Alternatively, you can specify your utility provider, your tariff name, and your connection voltage. And you can have VECKTA interpret your tariff for you. This is the suggested option for more accurate analyses, as we have the capability to model your tariff in finer detail behind the scenes.